All right, we're rolling. Episode 4, not top 25. A little bit of a different situation from our normal episode setup. Our cameraman Beau came down with COVID, so we had to call in another Beau, Mr. Beau Allen
Thank you
from the
guys for having me.
bullpen.
I'm excited for it. Excited to get
Yeah,
this one from the pen.
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
timing. Perfect timing to have Beau on with all the stuff that's going on in the college football world and in just, I guess, the college sports world in general. I mean, Beau, you're alumni at Kentucky. What a crazy finish last night. I wanted to get that. I've been itching all day to talk to another Kentucky fan. Well, dude, obviously not going to continue the episode of that, but man, Malachi Moreno, that was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously I know we're struggling right now, but any road win, any conference win, especially for how our season has started, it's huge no matter how ugly at times it could be.
Yeah, the crazy one. I mean, at least some teams in the state of Kentucky can win a midweek game.
Yeah, God knows we haven't for sure. Who would have thought to start out this year that Louisville and Kentucky would both be this bad?
Yeah, no, that definitely was
It's
not on my 2020.
it's bad for the state all. It's just bad for the state all around, man.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's enough hoops talk because we have a big one on Monday. And by big one, I mean the national championship game. I mean, a little bit about how we got here. Keaton, you've been right on the money. Shocker. I have been terrible, but you were so confident that 5 minutes ago, you just posted a video on our Instagram, which we'll leave a link below, saying you will do anything if Indiana loses the national championship to Miami. Would you like to elaborate to the listeners how
Yeah,
confident you
absolutely.
are in Indiana?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've proved everybody wrong all year. I mean, I think they're going to do it again on Monday. And I mean, I feel like Miami, like on the other end, has just gotten hot at the right time. I mean, they got beat by Louisville halfway through the year. They got beat by SMU. Like they lost to some upper pack, middle of the pack teams in the ACC. Which I mean, I'm not. That's not a knock on them by any means. But when you have that going into the playoffs, I feel like that kind of they barely snuck in, and then beating A&M on the road, I feel like just kind of got the ball rolling for them. Malachi Tony started firing on all cylinders. Like I said last episode, Carson Beck is kind of firing on all cylinders as well. Ruben Bain is obviously a difference maker on the D-line, and I just feel like all those guys are playing as one right now. But as far as Indiana, it's just magic. It's like the ultimate Cinderella story, and I don't think anything's going to stop them. I think Cignetti's going to prepare them, and they're going to come ready to play. And I don't really see a world where they don't go out there and win. So hats off to those guys and Miami Gardens for the season they've had. They've built it brick by brick back up to where they were midway through the season. But nonetheless, I just honestly think Indiana's the best team and has been all year.
And Beau, you're obviously the best football mind out of this crew right here. We're just a couple average Joes just talking shop. I am such a sucker for seeing logos and playing bait for, like, my prediction was Alabama and Georgia. Like, from being in the trenches before and putting on the pads, like, what do you see in this Indiana team that makes them so special?
They're just
My mind is blown.
they're just so complete. I mean, they don't like. The biggest thing again that Oregon game was like. I feel like there wasn't a lot of talk about the receivers. It was mainly just talking about how complete of a team it was and talking about how good Mendoza was, which he is. But I feel like each game that comes on, if it's the Bama game or Oregon game, as fans like all of us get to watch Indiana a little bit more, it's another part of the operation that's just dominating the game. If it's defensive line, if it's offensive line. That's what I know, like, they may not have all the highest draft guys in the world, but whatever they're doing, it's incredible. I think it's hard not to super appreciate them. Like, I have nothing against Miami, but I feel like I've been cheering for Indiana this whole run. Not that I was expecting them to win them like this, like the way they are, but I think it's just I think it's awesome what they're doing, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. And another thing to add is I feel like even when they make mistakes, they might take one step backwards, but they always take two steps forward. I feel like they always capitalize on their mistakes and make up for them so much more than, beating themselves up as if there's a holding call or Mendoza throws a pick or somebody fumbles, whatever the situation may be. I feel like they always have an optimistic mindset about it and don't beat themselves up. And I feel like that's what championship caliber teams do ultimately.
Yeah, speaking of mistakes, that fake microphone I had, yeah, that was pointless. I don't know. That was messing up my mojo for a second. But back to Indiana, how they got here. This run that they've been on, dominant. There's no other word to describe it other than just pure dominance. Taking Alabama down in Pasadena, that game was over in a half. The Oregon game was over in 5 minutes. It makes you wonder if they were to walk into Miami, which is still crazy that a team is playing a national championship in their home stadium, that if they were to walk in there and win by, let's say, 10 to 20 points, does that cement themselves as the greatest team of all time, or does that title still belong to either? In my opinion, I'm one of those guys that thinks it's 2020 Bama, but COVID really put that to a side. I mean,
2020 Bama was very
yeah,
good.
that team was
I
ridiculous.
think they were underrated team. 2020 Bama was underrated.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone talks about 2019 LSU, but back to the point, would this win cement Indiana as the GOAT?
I don't think it like a I don't think I would say it maybe immediately does, but I think in
I agree.
our era, I would say it's they deserve to be in the conversation of the 19 LSU, 20 Bama, and then I guess the 25, 26 Indiana team. I think there's definitely a conversation there for how they've been winning these games, but I don't it's a great argument. I'd probably still go with LSU if I had to choose, but they're right there with them though, in my
I
opinion.
mean, out of teams, we're all 24, 25. Out of teams I've seen in my lifetime, I'm probably going to lean towards 2020 Bama just because of all the names and how they turned out in the league. But over the entirety course of college football history, I think it's the 2001 Miami Hurricanes. You got to give those guys their flowers. When you have Ed Reed, Don Taylor, Clinton Portis, Willis McGahee, like the list goes, Andre Johnson, the list goes on and on and on. Vince Wilfork, like there's 3 or 4 other names on that team that are probably going to end up being Hall of Famers if they're not already. So I kind of tend to lean towards the 2001 Hurricanes, but I mean, Indiana's up there with them as well, in my opinion.
Yeah,
They've
and
had a great season.
boy, that '01 Miami team is the team I'd taken a street fight out of those 4. But
Yeah.
the tricky thing, I've wondered this about Miami being the host team and being the lower seed, usually in the Final Four and likewise in the college football playoff. The team with the higher seed, I would presume, gets the home locker room, like the Dolphins locker room, the Miami Hurricanes home locker room. Does Indiana get that locker room, or does that still belong to Miami's since it's their home
That's a good
stadium?
point.
Have y'all thought about that at
That's a
all?
good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
These teams are like weirdly intertwined for neither one of them being in the championship and or Miami not being in the championship for such a long time, but Indiana never being there. Like, I mean, obviously they're playing in Miami. That's where the University of Miami is. Mendoza grew up half a mile from the stadium, but also I didn't know this until they showed it at the Indiana Oregon game. But Cristobal and Mendoza's dad they played collegiate football together. And
Oh,
I think that's crazy. Like, it's just what a crazy coincidence. You know what I mean? Like, imagine
yeah. I
telling
mean,
him that when they were played in college together.
There's some weird mojo in this game for sure, and I'm curious what you guys think. Keaton, I know you obviously are cheering for Indiana, so you don't have to get a tattoo of Carson Beck on your ass. But
I might as well get Sid the Sloth on my left ass cheek, bro.
besides, I'm torn on who to cheer for. I think Indiana's going to win. I know whoever I bet on is going to lose. But Indiana, I hate the Big Ten, right? I can't see them win a third straight title. On the contrary, I'm not the biggest fan of Carson Beck or Shannon Dawson. I hate Indiana fans. Ever since I was a kid from the Watford shot, I don't think they deserve this. They're kind of assholes, just Big Ten corn-fed people. And then Miami, same boat. It's just like I'm like, I can't listen to you talk about the ACC winning a chip, even if you are inked up, which would be hilarious. You would ride that ACC coattail. So
Yeah, absolutely.
who do you think? I have this pledge brother who is successful gambling, but also a total douche. And I can't see him winning his Miami future. So there's a lot on the line here for me either way. If I had to flip a coin, I'd probably lean Indiana due to Mendoza. But Bo, who are you cheering for in this game?
I'm gonna cheer for Indiana. I really like Signetti a lot, and I think that I've just turned on some podcasts of him talking, and I just really enjoy all that he's about. I know he's a little cocky and a little makes a little fun of some things like that, but I just love it, man. I don't think there'll ever be a turnaround like this ever, and there pretty much never has. And I think I'm just gonna keep on riding the coattails of that and keep on cheering for him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree with you, Bo, on that. I mean, but back to your point about him being cocky. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. And
Exactly.
when you got a locker room full of young men, I feel like you need a guy who's a leader amongst men, and I feel like he's the perfect guy to do that. As far as the game goes, though, I think IU is going to beat them by 2 or 3 scores. I think Miami's defense might make it interesting in the first half just because that D line is so good. But ultimately, I just think they're so well coached, and you can just tell those guys play for each other so much more than any other team that I've seen in a long time, honestly. So I feel like they're probably going to win by 2 or 3 scores. That's my prediction.
you got an exact score you got in mind?
I'll go 38-21.
Okay.
38-21 IU.
Bo, what are you thinking?
Oh, I was seriously was gonna say 38-24, but I'll say 31-17. 31
Okay, you guys are around the 2 score range. I'll make it a little interesting. I think this game's gonna come down to Carson Beck, right? Like, I think, is the X factor, 'cause you made a great point about Miami's defense. I think they're gonna be bend, don't break. We know what Indiana's capable of, but also, we know defense is capable of. Carson Beck Miami would not have been a bubble playoff team if Carson Beck played solid football for 12 games. That Louisville game was a disaster. That SMU game was a disaster. Now, the ball's in his court. He didn't really play that well against Ole Miss, and I think got saved. If he has a solid game, I think Miami loses by 1 touchdown, with Miami driving towards the end of the game, probably chucking up a Hail Mary, one of those, like, chalk endings. I'm gonna go 28-21 IU as my score prediction.
I like it. Man, my only hope is just it's not like a 9-6 game. Like I hope they put points up on the board. This is what everybody's been waiting for all year, and I just hope it's at least a game where it's somewhat of a barn burner.
Yeah, and Bo, dare I say, after watching the college football playoffs, that, and this is rare to get in college sports, these are the 2 best teams in the country. I think Miami just slipped a couple.
I think I agree with you. I think I completely agree with you. I think that, I mean, one, it's hard to tell. Like, I know you don't like Ohio State. They, in terms of just how they've played Indiana in the past, like in that championship game, it could have gone either way. I think about them, but I don't think
Mhm.
I'm pretty close to say that Miami is probably the second best team in the country. Or obviously, we'll figure out who the first and second best team is this upcoming Monday. But I think you're pretty much right, though.
Yeah. Well, looking forward to it. I mean, that's gonna be a fun one, but there's a lot of other things going on in the college football world right now. And for some people, I'd say probably every other team but 2 teams has been the biggest thing, and that is the transfer portal. And Bo, you've had your dabble in the portal before. I mean, for our viewers that I guess have never really been in those shoes, like, could you give us a little idea of how much you want to share of what goes on in that portal process?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, if you're leaving, you got to kind of tell your coaches and tell some of your buddies and players, and go to the compliance office and maybe feel a little awkward and tell them you're leaving and set that stuff up. But then from there, it's kind of some of your information's already available, obviously on social media and stuff. But even I think your
Mhm.
phone number's put through some NCAA kind of forum or database or something, and it's kind of just free and flowing. Hopefully, as a transfer guy, hopefully your phone's a little more active than not. But so it's kinda just seeing what's out there now, I'd say. I mean, a lot of guys probably nowadays, just with how it is, I mean, I feel like we all see this. I mean, sometimes guys hear from coaches before they even maybe leave or not, and I'm not here to say that's a right or a wrong thing, but I guess once you get out there in the portal, it's kinda just seeing what happens really from there, and similar to high school, but instead of, like, 2 or 3 years to make a decision, you probably got a week or 2, you know?
I didn't even think about that. That's tough. And you experienced both sides of it, obviously. Like, what was NIL, like, was that how much of a conversation is that in the portal? And then compare that to, on the contrary, you were pre NIL going through the recruiting process out of high school. Like, how much of a different operation was that?
No, it's huge, and I think, I mean, obviously, it's a little more than, like, guys that were getting paid, like, more than I was, but I would say that, I mean, it's ginormous. I mean, it's not like, I don't put anything down on these kids from taking, I mean, money's gotta be a big part of the conversation, you know what I'm
Of
saying?
course, of course.
Imagine all of us were 17 and 18, and we got a 200 or $300,000 difference, and we're about to go play football. I mean, that's gonna matter to everybody. So I think, I mean, it's a huge thing. I mean, and I think, like, probably the biggest aspect outside of money, I would probably say, can either be from what you think your chances are of playing time, or if maybe a guy's got a really strong track record of developing your position. I would say, I mean, money's probably still the biggest thing, probably out of all
Absolutely. Yeah.
sales. And then in high school, I would say, I mean, the relationship aspect still is very huge, even with money. I mean, that definitely helps. But for some people, probably a lot of people, and most of us who don't even like to probably realize this, it's probably easier to have a better relationship when, or at least you think there's a better relationship if there's probably more money somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions I have for you, Bo, just as far as like the portal issues, like obviously the portal is open. They did away with the spring ball, the post spring ball portal. The portal's open from January 2nd to 16th. These kids don't get penalized for however many times they transfer. Like we've seen guys in the portal just these past 2 weeks transfer 2 or 3 times. My question to you is if you were the commissioner, like what would you do to fix it? Or what are some small things or big things that you would do just as a guy who's been through the process and has experienced it?
You'll have maybe saw Dan Lanning talk about this, but I think the first thing would be move up the schedule. And so if you move up the schedule, let's say you start the season in the middle of August and you finish it, I mean, right before the new year. and you open the portal at the end of this, like actually at like let's say the national championships on New Year's Eve or something, and the portal opens like the day that it ends or the day after the Natty, and
Mhm.
then you have it going, let's say for a month or so, and teams try to get their rosters together during that period. And maybe if I would ever have another one, it'd be after the spring season. So probably some teams probably finish up probably the latest teams finish up spring practice probably around end of April, let's say. So maybe you open up again in the whole month of May. That's another good time because a lot of teams are off during the whole month of May. Like at Kentucky with Coach Stoops, that's when we would have our biggest time off was that month of May. That would probably be the first two things I would do. In regulation, probably regarding the portal, I would probably like to say, I mean, I took advantage of it obviously with the current rules that were in place, but
Mhm.
I would say, I mean, if I had to stick to something, I would maybe give somebody, if they're an undergraduate, give them like one transfer. And unless if a coach leaves, it's free and flowing. You can do whatever you want. And maybe something, then once they're a graduate or something, maybe they can leave as much as they want as long as they're a graduate. That's probably what I would do. But I think the biggest issue is the schedule right now.
I would agree with you. And it's not fair to guys like Will Stein's a great example. I mean, he's basically working 2 jobs at once. Like, he's
Yes.
trying to recruit and get those guys prepped and get his guys at
Good point.
UK, and at the same time, like, he's out there trying to call plays for Oregon. Like, that's not fair to guys like him and other people in his position. I had something else I was gonna say, I can't remember, but like I
Oh,
said.
Ribula at Penn State last year, he was a great example. So Drew Aller was gonna come back. He wasn't gonna be the starting quarterback at Penn State for the following year, but he had plenty of options to go. Obviously, he went to Missouri, and I mean, the portal's open while they're already in the playoff. I think he went ahead and left. I can't really completely remember, but obviously, it just puts guys like that in a much better position to go about the portal and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go ahead,
And
Trey.
speaking of the portal, Bo, in your experience, and I guess Cutter Boley's going through this right now as well, it's very hard to leave a school that you grew up like cheering for. Like we went to games together, man. Like that's and I remember you texting our group chat full of Kentucky fans. It was like you telling your parents like it's like a girl you got pregnant.
Mhm.
Like, out of wedlock. That's all of our response is like, we still love you, man, like, don't
Yeah.
worry,
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I compare it, honestly. But how tough was that to originally the first time to leave Kentucky? I've always wondered that.
No, it was tough for sure. I think that, like, if y'all I know Trey may remember, but, like, I left in, like, June at the time, and that was when you could pretty much leave whenever. If it wasn't at Kentucky, I probably would have left like that January because there really wasn't it wasn't like something drastically changed in June, you know what I'm saying, for me to leave. It was probably
Mhm.
something that just kinda slowly built up over time to make me realize if I, wanted to do the best just for my football career and get to go play somewhere now, that's what I needed to do, but it's definitely really hard, and, you know, I mean, especially, like, it's not, I mean, hard in terms of, like, there's some hardship or something, but obviously, again, like I said, I bet if I went somewhere else in Kentucky and I thought it was somewhere I needed to leave, I probably would have made a decision, a little bit sooner, but it's definitely a big deal and a feel for Cutter for sure, but I think he'll do well, though.
Yeah,
I've got a
and
question for you, Bo. Just as far as, just for our listeners who are tuning in, you started at Kentucky, you transferred to FCS, Tarleton State, and then you went back to UK. What was the feel like going from FCS back to SEC, and just what are the differences? I mean, I grew up around Murray State. I know how FCS ball is. Like, not many people go to the games, not as many as SEC ball, obviously. So I just want your opinion on like what the feel was and what's the difference there.
I mean, the biggest difference is probably more some of the obvious stuff, like just the facilities or something like that. Like you said, the amount of people that come to your games. But one thing I always like to tell people, and when I went to Tarleton State and I was talking to people from back in Kentucky when we played games against these teams, is like the FCS was honestly, a little bit more ahead of its time portal wise compared to the FBS probably. Like, obviously now, like at any college team, like the roster, you have your freshmen, but I mean, it's probably, I mean, I can't, I wonder what the statistic is of how many juniors and seniors are guys have been at their same school the whole time. And I guess what I'm saying is like, Tarleton State at that time and many schools we would play, the first 11 guys out there on offense and defense were probably just guys like me. You know what I'm saying? Like they were out
Right.
at a different school before. Could be any level, could be any conference really. But I mean, I think like one of our I mean, basically if you go for the first 11 starters on the offense and defense, and the same thing on the defense. A lot of them were Power 5 or Group of 5 transfers, but I would say the biggest difference in terms of actual play on the field was, like, the depth. It's like if a guy got injured on an opposing team, the depth would not be nearly as deep as you would see in the SEC or anything like
Mhm.
that. I think a lot of the talent on the starting 11 would probably be a little bit of a surprise, but the biggest difference is the more material things like facilities and stadium and, like, attendance and stuff like that.
Like, the actual play style and, like, speed of the game doesn't seem that difference really. Like, I know a bunch of guys who play SCS who had offers to go play Power 4, but th they might have not had the grades or just the exposure or whatever it might have been.
Picked up.
So, I didn't know if, like, the speed of the game was different necessarily.
Yeah, no, it still is. I mean, there's still especially, like, in the SEC and you're playing
Mhm.
Georgia or something like that, but, I mean, that's what there still is a difference there, but I'd say it's less than probably what most people would say, but, I mean, Western's a great example. I mean, Western's had Bailey Zappi, they've had plenty of other the quarterback that initially was I think he started for him but got hurt, Maverick. He was I
Yeah,
played
Maverick McIver.
yeah, I played against him when I was at Tarleton. He was at Abilene Christian, but Western's a great example of guys who played in the FCS and did well and went to Western and did much more with their career too.
Air Raid, baby.
Yeah,
SQBU of the G5. Come on
it
now.
is. It is.
But before we go and talk about, I guess, our biggest winners and losers in the transfer portal, and speaking of in-state schools, there's a certain school down the road on Ive that I'm going to use a term that I don't think either of you guys have heard: rivalry incest, where two rival
Yeah.
teams have coaches and players flip-flopping like the way Kentucky and Louisville do. How weird is it to see the guy that recruited you to Kentucky, now on the sidelines at Louisville, and the guy that I would assume was recruiting you when you were at Catholic at Louisville, now on the sidelines at Kentucky, and Pete Nocta, and
Yeah,
all these players, all the guys going to Louisville that you just played with this past year, and then guys like Brock Kaufman going from Louisville to Kentucky. I mean, you can't even keep track anymore.
I know. Yeah, it is funny. I mean, I guess it kinda shows not necessarily in a bad way, but it kinda just, like, it's what it is now, you know what I'm saying, the portal, but it's definitely funny.
Mhm.
I think you're right, where it's not as maybe with just being basketball season, and obviously we didn't have as good of a season at Kentucky as we wanted to, that it definitely isn't as that big of a story for I mean, there like, I can't off the top of my head, I mean, I know we got one Louisville player, but I mean, there's probably about 4 or 5 Kentucky guys that went over there and obviously some coaches,
Mhm.
but
And to double down, I mean, I think it even dates back to in basketball too, because obviously Patino, Kenny
yeah,
Payne,
yeah,
and then now Stein, who played at Louisville as Kentucky's
yeah.
head coach in football. There's no other rivalry in the country that has this much quote unquote like incest. Is that the right word? Do y'all have a
You
better?
know, yeah, to me, it just kinda seems like the universities have joint custody, like, over these kids and coaches and staffers, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kinda funny to see, and, you know, I'm pretty happy with the guys that we got from that Vince Marrow got for us. It just is one of those things, it's so funny to see him go from UK and, like, me kinda rooting against him and, like, the guys he was trying to get over the course of my life, and now he's on our side. It's just so weird to see him on this side of the fence.
Yeah, no, that's all I know all the guys that went to Louisville, and I think
Mhm.
highly of all of them be good players. I don't know Brock Kaufman as well, but I bet he is a good player too. He was doing, I think, some of the kick returns or punt returns, I know, in our game, so as a true freshman, so I think that's pretty impressive. I mean, it seems like both sides are I mean, the schools that the player left are probably a little upset, but, it seems like both teams are getting some
My
good
computer just died. Also, my computer just died.
Technical difficulty. That is crazy. That just happened. I'm gonna now hold my phone like this, gentlemen. Where were we again?
We were talking about the portal and stuff like that. Do we want to roll into like who we think the winners and losers were of the portal, or do we want to continue on about this Kentucky Louisville debacle with the transfer portal?
I mean, I think we covered that up pretty well. Just the crazy, the flip flopping. I mean, the just between both universities. I think that has to do with one being the SEC, one being the ACC, and that's why you don't see it in like the Alabama Auburns. You know, maybe you see it sometimes with Texas and their surrounding schools. I feel like they could steal anyone they want, a la Chris Beard in basketball from Texas Tech, but you don't see Ohio State and Michigan flopping players. So it really, I think the Kentucky Louisville rivalry needs to be one of the premier stories of the transfer portal, let alone one of the premier stories of college football next year. That's my
Yeah.
take from it.
Also, not to mention Vince Marrow is beefing hard as fuck with UK Twitter right now. Some of the stuff he's been tweeting out is insane.
Boom, let's go.
We'll say I am looking forward to this game this year. I think it's going to be a really good game. I know it's at y'all's place. Y'all are going to be trying to get y'all's lick back from that ass whooping we put on y'all this year. But nonetheless, it's going to be an exciting season of football.
Yeah, that's it. And that's cute. Enjoy it while you still can. But yeah, no, let's talk about our biggest winners and losers of the transfer portal. Beau, I'll start with you. From the portal so far, who has been your biggest winner?
I'm pulling some rankings up so I don't miss anybody, but, I mean, I feel like I would say I mean, I know I'm definitely biased here, but Kentucky is tough to I mean, aren't we, like, 4th or something like that right now?
24/7, according to 24/7, y'all are 7th as of today. And then on 3, I didn't see they have completely different rankings from 24/7, but on 24/7, yeah, y'all are ranked top 10. Y'all are 7th as of now.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah, I think one of the I think on 3's got him at, like, 10 now. So
Mhm.
I'm saying I probably will stick with Kentucky because I'm looking around and, I mean, I would say, I mean, we're up there with about everybody you would wanna be around with, so I think I'll stick with Kentucky in terms of just the turnaround, and seems like we're getting some pretty good guys. Obviously, everybody will see in the season, but seems like it's been a good portal season.
I think Kentucky's had a really good portal. Y'all's O-line is really good going into next year. Y'all got a bunch of the top-rated O-linemen. My only question mark for y'all going forward, I know the portal ends, I believe, tomorrow. Y'all's receiver room is looking a little thin, so I don't know what Stein's plan is, as far as the last day being tomorrow for the portal, if he's gonna try and, poach a few guys from other teams or go out and get some lower-rated guys. But like I said, y'all's O-line's really good. And Kenny Minshew is going to be a really good quarterback. I mean, if anybody can develop him, it's Stein. So that's good for y'all. On the contrary, I think we've had a great portal as well. Obviously, I'm biased. On 3 has us ranked 4th. 24/7 Sports has us ranked, I believe, 12th. I like the receiver we got from Vandy. I know he had a really good year. He scored 8 touchdowns. Our quarterback doesn't have much film. His name's Lincoln Keenholz, but I
Yeah,
think
well,
he's going to
who
be
is he
really.
again?
He's an Ohio State guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he backed up Julian saying he doesn't really have much film, but the stuff I've seen, he's not afraid to lower his shoulder, and I feel like Brom loves a guy like that because I know y'all seen the interview of Brom when he played in the XFL. Do I have a pulse? Yes. Then let's play football. So I feel like he's gonna love that guy, and that's enough of who we cheer for and our bias and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Hey, I will say though, I do think Kentucky has a case for it. I don't think you guys do, but continue.
I will say, I think Indiana's going to have a really good portal. Josh Hoover was good. I mean, Mark Cuban's going to throw him $1 billion, so it's hard to not see them have a good portal. Don't sleep on Virginia Tech. They're ranked really high on 24/7 and on 3. I feel like James Franklin at Virginia Tech's kind of flying under the radar right now. And I mean, the ACC, you never know who's going to win it. Pitt won it a couple years ago. We played in a game against Florida State a couple years ago. Like, it's always up in there. So Virginia Tech's going to be a team to watch out for next year as well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is definitely up in the air. We're seeing, like, Virginia in there this year.
I know, dude. You just never know. It really is a conference. I swear it's a different team every year, and it's never a team that like you ever expect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been that way. It's been besides Clemson and their little run, it's always been that way.
Yeah, I agree. Texas Tech getting Sorsby, I think, is huge. Everybody knows they have oil money. Their defense is going to be good every year with the coaching staff and the personnel that they have. Right now, they're ranked first in on threes rankings.
Who's your biggest winner out of the like?
Dude,
You get to pick one.
I really don't know, but I will say Kiffin getting Sam Levitt makes complete sense. Like, I feel like he's the second coming of Jackson Dart. He's an athletic white guy with a little bit of motion. I know we touched on that last episode, but I called that from the get-go last episode. That was my prediction. I had a feeling he was going there. He is a Kiffin guy, and that whole thing he's got going on down there.
What
I'm
is a
excited.
Kiffin guy? Just a West Coast like surfer, kind of a douche white guy. Is that like his type? Like
I
for
just feel like he likes a confident guy who's a little bit more athletic than, say, the traditional like white guy quarterback. You know what I mean? And he just fits the persona. Like, we all know how Kiffin is. Like, if you've ever heard Sam Levitt in an interview or seen him play, like, he plays exactly like a guy you would think Kiffin would want. So that's why I
Yeah.
say that.
All right, so LSU's your biggest winner.
Hmm.
I think I like both your picks, and obviously both of them have a case. But my biggest winner actually is a team that I had a soliloquy last week about how much I despise them because I do still think they ruined college football with the Longhorn Network and joining the SEC. But unfortunately, the Texas Longhorns are the winners of the portal due for one reason and one reason only. They gave Arch Manning not a weapon, but a nuclear bomb in Cam Coleman. I think he was the lottery this portal go around, and now he is going to be in burnt orange. I think that elevates Arch obviously to the Heisman favorite, and I think he will win it next year. It will be a chalky Heisman And to double down, we've seen what Sark has done in the past, like how well Devontae Smith played in his offense when he was the play caller at Alabama. I think Cam Coleman is such an unbelievable talent, and the world really has seen bits and pieces of it, but hasn't gotten to see the full pie yet, just due to the fact that Auburn really didn't utilize him well and just surrounded him with subpar quarterback play. So I do think Cam Coleman to Texas gives them the title of portal champions.
Cam Coleman's a good one. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. And like, I mean, you touched on it with that last statement, but I feel like he went kind of under the radar at Auburn just because he didn't have the, right quarterback guy. But I'm excited to see him play. I haven't really, kept up with Auburn football the last couple of years. I know Cam Coleman was always a big name down there, but I'm excited to see what he can do with Arch throwing the ball to him and start,
Yeah.
calling the plays.
Well, let's go ahead and pick our losers and wrap it up quick. I do forget it is 8 p.m. in Lexington, and Bo, I'm sure you're eager to get back home. Thank you so much for doing it. But funny enough, my biggest loser is Auburn, considering they did lose Cam Coleman. I think he was the deciding factor. He's going to be a top 10 pick as a wide receiver, man. And Auburn losing, I know it's the new regime under Golish, but that is such a brutal loss and such a guy that could have been a legend in orange and blue playing with Byram. But I mean, it sucks, but I don't blame him. Who's your biggest loser?
Bo, you want to go ahead and
I'll
go?
start out with I'm going to go Miami. Now I know I would have, so they got I think 4 current portal commits. I don't know what their plan is at quarterback next year. And I mean, I know they got some good young guys, especially that one receiver they have. He's a baller. He's a true freshman too, Malachi Tony.
He's supposed to be in high school.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, he was in high school for 3 years or something. But so I know they still have some young talent, but obviously, I mean, the most important position. I don't know how they feel about that currently, and I would just think they probably have a little more momentum. You know what I'm saying? Being in the national championship and having a good solid year. That I mean, compared to like Indiana's got 5 4-stars and they're ranked 6, I guess, right now in 24/7 with their portal class, and Miami's up in the 50s. So I think with the type of momentum they've had being the national championship, may have not done as good as they wanted to in the portal.
That's a good point, Bo, and that kind of goes back to your point as far as like trying to fix some of the issues with the scheduling of the portal, because I mean it puts Cristobal and those guys at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
This just shouldn't be the case as far as scheduling for the portal. My biggest loser, I'm going to piggyback off you as well as far as a quarterback. I think Tennessee's really had a bad portal. I haven't heard much about them. Like the only thing I've heard of is them getting the kicker that we had. I know he's a Lexington guy, but Joey Aguilar's out of eligibility, and I don't think they picked anybody up. I know they're trying to poach Levitt from Kiffin, and that obviously didn't work out. That wasn't the case. So I feel like there's a big question mark in Knoxville going into next year as far as like what they're going to do, the guys they have. And I feel like Tennessee I don't know, man. I feel like they whiffed on a lot of the guys they wanted.
Yeah, and I mean, they don't obviously last year, especially in our game on offense, they had a good day, but I mean, they I guess kind of what I'm trying to say here is Josh Heupel could underratedly be on the hot seat. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're not too happy going to Nashville at the end of every year.
I agree.
Like the playoff experience was cool, but that's probably as worse as a round 1 game could get. So I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and I mean, I know they have a 5-star they're bringing in. I believe his name's Brandon Faison, but I mean, you don't want to throw that kid to the wolves week 1. You got to develop him a little bit. Otherwise, his confidence might get killed and he might never come back. I mean, you know more than anybody because you play collegiately, but that just doesn't seem like the best idea in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think that in the SEC especially, the quarterback position's so not necessarily hard to evaluate, but guys get put on such pedestals. I mean, for example, Arch Manning, he was the Heisman favorite and he started 1 or 2 games. And that's not his fault. I put that on the nation and all the journalists and everything of just we're just putting a guy on same thing with DJ Lagway. These defenses are so good. Everyone around them, hope if they're good or not, that's kind of what will oftentimes reflect to the quarterback. I mean, if you got a good team, a quarterback will look a lot better. And I'm saying that in favorance of a guy like DJ Lagway, to where I guess they kind of get to a point where the test for them to show if they're worth it or not is sometimes too early. And I think that's way too often nowadays.
One more team I wanted to say that I think has a dark horse winner is Baylor. I mean, I know Lagway transferred to Baylor, and they got Hardly Gilmore as well, who's an underrated SEC receiver in my opinion. This quarterback, I forgot their quarterback's name from this year, but he threw for a lot of yards. I mean, the offense they run, they set quarterbacks up for success. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had a good year in the Big 12 next year.
Yeah. Well, Bo, man, thank you for joining us.
Thank
I
you
know
guys.
it's getting late there in Lexington.
I had fun.
Don't want to thank you for taking the time, man. And it's always a pleasure. You're welcome anytime. Our first guest, man. That is something
Yeah.
as we continue throughout the show that will
Clap it
forever
up.
be
Clap it up.
engraved in history of not top 25.
Anytime.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Keep Joe up tonight, Trey.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, you want to say anything to the pod and Bo before we close it out? You can DM him on his real estate account.
All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow, or see you
See
guys.
you, brother.